$2,500 a month in New York. Go ahead and laugh. I genuinely don't blame you. You picture Manhattan rents and MTA delays and those absurd NYC parking tickets, and you assume you need a finance salary just to keep the lights on. Which, if we're being honest, is true for a lot of this state. But New York is not one place. It is dozens of completely different worlds sharing the same state lines. And some of those worlds are shockingly, almost embarrassingly affordable. We are not talking about crashing with roommates or skipping the heat in February. We are talking about real apartments, real groceries, real lives on $2,500 a month. Some of these towns don't just fit that budget, they absolutely demolish it. These are 10 New York towns where $2,500 a month is not a survival budget. It is a real life. Let's go. Poughkeepsie sits in the Hudson Valley, about 75 miles north of Manhattan. Population around 30,000. Vassar College is here. The Walkway. Over the Hudson, the longest elevated pedestrian bridge in the world is here. And Metro North runs straight to Grand Central in under 2 hours. Now, the numbers. Rent averages around $1,893 for a one-bedroom. Stack on groceries, utilities, and gas, and you are looking at $2,600 to $2,800 a month. Technically over budget. So why is it on this list? Go car free. Swap the car payment and the gas for a Metro North pass, and your monthly costs drop back under $2,500. That is not a sacrifice. For a lot of people, that is actually the better deal. You get Hudson Valley scenery, walkable streets, river views, and a direct line to New York City. All of it at a fraction of what living downstate actually costs. It takes some discipline, but it works. Albany is the state capital of New York, population around 100,000. Real government buildings, real hospitals, real universities, and rent prices that somehow never got the memo about how important this city actually is. A one-bedroom runs $1,400 to $1,520 a month. Stack on groceries, utilities, and gas, and your total lands between $2,200 and $2,450. That is a $50 to $300 buffer on a $2,500 budget. Tight, but it works. The job market is the story here. State government is the anchor. Agencies, contractors, legal, administrative, healthcare. The University at Albany and Albany Medical Center are major employers. This is not a town where you scramble for work. There are actual careers here, and the cost of living makes those paychecks go considerably further than they would anywhere downstate. The lifestyle has been quietly improving. Downtown has real restaurants, craft breweries, a growing arts scene. The Empire State Plaza is genuinely striking architecture. Saratoga Springs is 30 minutes north. The Catskills and Adirondacks are both within weekend reach. Winters are serious. The budget is slim, but for a state capital with this much infrastructure, Albany is an unexpectedly honest deal. Troy sits about 20 minutes north of Albany on the eastern bank of the Hudson River. Population around 50,000. Former industrial powerhouse, one-time collar manufacturing capital of the world, and now one of the most quietly compelling small cities in upstate New York. Rent runs $1,588 to $1,600 for a one-bedroom. Add groceries, utilities, and gas, and you are looking at $2,200 to $2,400 a month. A buffer of $100 to $300. Modest, but real. What makes Troy worth that tight budget is the personality. The downtown food scene is legitimately excellent for a city this size. Independent restaurants, a craft brewery on what feels like every other block, and the Troy Waterfront Farmers Market running outdoors from May through November, which is one of the best farmers markets in the entire state. This is not a town pretending to have culture, it actually has it. The architecture alone is worth the rent. 19th century brownstones and row houses line the streets downtown in a way that genuinely stops you mid-walk. Albany's job market is 20 minutes away. You live in Troy, work wherever the region takes you. Just pick your neighborhood carefully. The revitalization here is real but uneven. Syracuse is home to Syracuse University, sits in the middle of New York State, and gets more snow than almost any other city in America. Population around 150,000. Almost nobody drives through it on purpose. That is precisely why it is still this affordable. Rent runs $1,259 to $1,306 for a one-bedroom. Total monthly costs land around $2,050 to $2,200. A comfortable $300 plus under the $2,500 cap. The university shapes everything here. It brings energy, diversity, a genuine food scene, and Division I sports to a mid-sized upstate city that would otherwise be pretty quiet. The JMA Wireless Dome is the largest domed stadium on a college campus in the country. On game days, this city comes alive in a way that most affordable towns simply never do. The job market is real. Healthcare, education, defense, and manufacturing. Lockheed Martin has a significant presence here. Hospitals anchor the employment base. These are actual careers, not seasonal work. The Finger Lakes wine country is about an hour west. The Adirondacks are reachable. The 1,000 Islands region is a few hours north. Now, the snow. Lake effect off Lake Ontario is not an exaggeration. Syracuse regularly ranks as one of the snowiest cities in the entire United States. If you cannot make peace with winter, walk away now. If you can, the summers here are genuinely beautiful and the budget is very comfortable. Rochester is the city that invented Kodak and Xerox and then had to figure out what comes next. What it figured out is actually worth paying attention to. Rent runs $1,300 to $1,500 for a one-bedroom. Total monthly costs land between $2,000 and $2,200. A $300 plus buffer on a $2,500 budget. Comfortable. The University of Rochester and the Rochester Institute of Technology pulled the city toward healthcare, optics, and technology after the manufacturing era ended. That pivot worked. The Eastman School of Music, one of the most prestigious music conservatories in the world, is here, and it gives Rochester a live music culture that has absolutely no business existing in a city this size or at this price point. The Strong National Museum of Play is one of the most genuinely unique museums in the country. The George Eastman Museum is world-class. The Rochester Public Market on Saturday mornings has been running for over a century and is a real institution, not a tourist attraction. Lake Ontario sits right on the city's northern edge. Summers on the lake are legitimately beautiful and completely free. The downside is familiar by now. Winters are long, heavy, and relentless. Some neighborhoods still carry the weight of deindustrialization, but Rochester is a city moving forward, and at these prices, you are getting considerably more than you are paying for. Utica sits in the Mohawk Valley, roughly halfway between Albany and Syracuse. Population around 65,000. Almost nobody outside of New York State has heard of it, which is exactly why it is still this affordable. Rent runs $1,200 to $1,350 for a one-bedroom. Total monthly costs land between $2,000 and $2,150, a $350 plus buffer. Comfortable by any measure. Here is what nobody tells you about Utica. It has one of the most surprising food scenes of any small city in America. Decades of refugee resettlement brought Bosnian, Somali, Vietnamese, and Lebanese communities here, and they built real restaurants and real neighborhoods that you simply do not find in most towns this size. Utica greens and chicken riggies are legitimate regional dishes, Things people in central New York will argue about passionately and outsiders have never heard of. The food alone makes this place worth knowing about. The job market is shifting too. Healthcare and manufacturing have always anchored it, but a growing cybersecurity sector built around SUNY Polytechnic Institute is adding real career options. The Adirondacks start about an hour north. The Erie Canal runs right through the region. Utica has struggled economically for decades. It is honest work in progress. But at these prices, with this much character, it deserves far more attention than it gets. Buffalo gets the same treatment from the rest of the country that Bakersfield gets in California. Everyone knows the jokes, the snow, the losing Super Bowls, the chicken wings. But here is what the jokes consistently miss. Rent runs $1,200 to $1,400 for a one-bedroom. Total monthly costs land between $1,950 and $2,110. That is a $400+ buffer on a $2,500 budget. Comfortable, real breathing room. And Buffalo is not a small town you are compromising for. Population close to 280,000 in the city, nearly 1.3 million in the metro. Real hospitals, real universities, real neighborhoods, and a downtown that has been genuinely transforming for a decade. This is a city with actual infrastructure. The architecture alone is worth the conversation. Buffalo was once extraordinarily wealthy, and the buildings prove it. Frank Lloyd Wright's Darwin D. Martin House is here. The Guarantee Building. The Richardson Olmsted Campus. Walking through certain neighborhoods feels like stumbling through an open-air museum of American architectural history. Chicken wings were invented here at the Anchor Bar. That is real. But the food scene extends well beyond one dish. Niagara Falls is 20 minutes away. Canada is right across the river. The Finger Lakes are within reach. The winters are brutal, some of the heaviest snowfall of any major American city. Buffalo people will tell you that is a feature. They are not entirely wrong. Cortland is small, population around 18,000, tucked into the hills of central New York, home to SUNY Cortland. It shows up on nobody's list of places to consider. That is a genuine mistake. Rent runs $1,010 to $1,027 for a one-bedroom. Total monthly costs land between $1,800 and $2,050. A solid $450+ under the $2,500 cap. That is not tight. That is comfortable. The outdoor access is the real argument here. Cortland sits at the northern edge of the Finger Lakes region. Greek Peak Mountain Resort is practically in town for skiing and snowboarding. Tully Lake is minutes away. The surrounding state forests offer hiking and mountain biking through some genuinely beautiful central New York countryside. If your ideal year includes skiing in winter and lake life in summer, Cortland delivers both at a price that makes no sense by any coastal standard. SUNY Cortland anchors the economy, education, healthcare, and enough small business activity to keep the downtown alive. Syracuse is 35 minutes north. Ithaca is 30 minutes south. You are closer to more than the map suggests. The honest trade-off is scale. Cortland is a small town, and it feels like one. For anything beyond the basics, you are driving. If that does not bother you, the budget case here is nearly impossible to argue with. Binghamton sits in the southern tier, where New York starts looking more like Pennsylvania, rolling hills, wide river valleys, a genuinely different pace of life. Population around 45,000 in the city, 250,000 in the metro. And almost nobody from outside the region gives it a second thought. That is their loss. Rent runs $1,000 to $1,300 for a one-bedroom. Total monthly costs land between $1,700 and $2,000. That is $500+ under the $2,500 cap. Not tight, genuinely comfortable. In New York State, that kind of breathing room is rare. Binghamton. University anchors everything here. It is part of the SUNY system, and consistently ranks among the best public universities in the entire Northeast. That means the economy, the culture, and the job market all punch above what a city this size would normally offer. Healthcare and education dominate employment, and they are stable in a way that most industries simply are not. Here is something worth knowing. Binghamton was once the carousel capital of the world. 6 antique carousels, all free to ride, still operating across the city today. That is not a footnote. That is genuinely wonderful and completely unexpected. The Catskills are an hour and a half east. The Delaware River is nearby. The hills surrounding the city turn remarkable colors in fall. The southern tier has faced real economic decline over the decades. Binghamton is stable and rebuilding, but it is not a boomtown. Go in with clear eyes, and you will find a lot more than you expected. Jamestown wins this list, and it is not particularly close. A small city of about 28,000 people in the far western corner of New York, right on the shores of Chautauqua Lake. Almost nobody outside of western New York has ever heard of it. That is honestly their loss. Rent runs $650 to $850 for a one-bedroom. Add groceries, utilities, and gas, and your total monthly costs land between $1,450 and $1,600. That is nearly $1,000 under the $2,500 cap. Read that again. In New York State, nearly $1,000 under budget. Jamestown is the birthplace of Lucille Ball. The National Comedy Center, which opened in 2018, is a world-class museum dedicated to the entire history of American comedy. It is genuinely one of the best museums of its kind anywhere in the country, and people travel from across the nation specifically to visit it. This small city has a cultural anchor that towns 10 times its size would envy. Chautauqua Lake is right on the doorstep. Boating, fishing, and the famous Chautauqua Institution, a summer education and arts campus that has been running continuously since 1874. That combination of lake life and intellectual programming is completely unique. At these numbers, $2,500 a month in Jamestown is not a budget. It is a lifestyle. You are saving real money every single month, building actual financial cushion, and still living well. The economy has struggled here, and the town is small. Those are honest trade-offs. But for pure affordability paired with genuine character, nothing on this list comes close. Those are 10 New York towns where $2,500 a month is not just a ceiling, it is room to breathe. Some of these places do not just fit the budget, they shatter it. Will Albany and Troy require some careful math at the end of the month? Yes. Will Poughkeepsie ask you to rethink your relationship with a car? Absolutely. But the point is that it works. And in a state where everyone assumes you need a Manhattan salary just to exist, that matters more than people realize. New York is not New York City. It is lake towns and river cities and college towns and mountain valleys and small cities with real character and real community that most people drive past without a second glance. Jamestown, Binghamton, Cortland. These places are not consolation prizes. They are the answer if the question is how to actually build a life without burning every dollar you make just to keep up. If this was useful, subscribe. See you in the next one.